handle the rush of success when you began your career only at 17?
Making it as a youngster, having success young, early it was great. People that knew me in, late 90s, they knew that Darkchild is in the studio. If you need to find him, he's in the studio. I never forget, I used to get phone calls from Michael Jackson at 4 in the morning at the studio because he knew I was working. And everybody, there was even executives that ran companies, and they knew, if we need to get a hold of Rodney, he's in the studio. I used to sleep in the studio. Every studio that I worked at, I would make sure that they had a pull-out bed or something brought in for me because I would stay there for weeks at a time. I think the success came young, but the greatest part about it was it's not about the success coming young, it's about maintaining the level of success.
That first big check, how did you earn it, and what was that first big purchase you made?
My first big paycheck came when I was 17 years old. $1.8 million publishing deal with EMI. I was 17 years old. And first thing I did was move us out the house that we were living in. I wrote a letter to my mom when I was 6 years old and said I was gonna buy her a Mercedes-Benz. So I took and bought her a Mercedes-Benz.
What are the biggest changes you've seen in the music industry?
I think the biggest thing for me growing up as a young man in the industry and now a grown man in the industry is the technology change that has happened and being able to embrace the change of technology. Right here behind me is Pro Tools. And when I think about Pro Tools, back then we had tape machines, these big, I'll never forget the worst investment of my life was I bought this tape machine. It was a reel-to-reel tape machine. It cost $350,000, and I bought this tape machine. And 1 month later, Pro Tools was born. And it literally defeated every tape machine that we used. That tape machine was the worst investment of my life. So technology, but you have to embrace technology. I'm embracing it and I'm learning it, and it's fun. And when you think about social media and what that's done for our industry from the standpoint of a real tool to market and promote, create value for your records and for the music that you make. There was no Twitter, there was no YouTube. You had no outlet to have, 2 million views. You go back to Justin Bieber, a young kid from Canada, getting 20-something million views at 12 years old. There was no outlet like that back then. And I always tell people, listen, online is the new A&R. If you make good product and you get it up online, someone is gonna find it. That's the industry we live in now.
Explain the process of promoting your work and how it has evolved.
I remember just being 15, 16 years old, standing outside of record companies, waiting for someone to come down and hand them my demo tape, watching them walk over to the side and throw the demo tape in the trash can. Now, of course, with the internet, you don't even have to wait outside the record companies anymore. You can pretty much put stuff online, and if it catches heat, they will discover you. The mixtape era, though, to me it's changed on a different level. I remember back then, every hip-hop artist had to have a mixtape. That was the thing. Now, if you're R&B, if you're pop, you have to have a mixtape. And your mixtape usually is a lot of original music. It's almost like you're giving away a free album. I know guys right now that have record deals. Drake, for example. Drake had a song off a mixtape that went #1 at radio. Frank Ocean, he was signed to Def Jam by a different name. They weren't paying him any mind. He changed his name to Frank Ocean and put out a mixtape, and it blew up. And now, he's getting nominated and winning Grammys.
What aspects of the music industry do you think will never change?
I think what will never change is that in order to really reap true harvest from the music that is created, it takes a great song. And I'm not talking about a song that comes out and it's #1 overnight and it stays #1 for a couple weeks on iTunes. I'm talking about a great song that's a real copyright that stands the test of time. That means it was so great in 2013 that in 2043, someone else remade it. That's what it's about.